You know, every now and then we run a segment on the show that we call Who Knew? It's dedicated to digging up surprising facts about things we are familiar with but tend to take for granted. But there's a new book out, Oldest Cincinnati, that has who knew moments about the city on steroids. And so we're going to check in now with the author himself, Rick Pender. Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's great to be with you today, Clyde. Thank you.
Absolutely. So your book, Oldest Cincinnati is its title, chronicles the fascinating tales of more than about 90 items in our community. Can you give us a few examples?
Sure. I tried to do some things that people would know something about already. The suspension bridge is in there, the Cincinnati Reds and Findlay Market. But I try to go into more detail about those. And then I try to include things that might be less known. For instance, Old St. Mary's Church in Over the Rhine is the oldest church structure in the city. And interestingly, it has in its bell tower a bell and clock works that were the first that were created by the Verdun Bell Company, which is one of our oldest companies here.
Oh, wow.
So it's more of those kinds of things.
Well, given that kind of fascinating rummaging through Cincinnati's attic, if you will, what was the inspiration for this book?
Well, a couple of years ago, I did a book called 100 Things to Do in Cincinnati. And that book has had a lot of people enjoying it. It actually's had a second edition. The publisher of that book asked me about this, and I thought, well, that's a perfect follow-up because I had a lot of history in the book. But this one gave me the opportunity to go into greater depth about many of them and have more photos than were in my previous book.
Rick, I remember we talked to you about that book and the aha moments that you had during that research. What about this book? What aha moments did you have here?
Well, the one that I thought was especially fun was about the Cincinnati Zoo. Of course, it's our only zoo locally, so naturally it's the oldest, but it also happens to be the second oldest zoo in the United States. It started way back in 1875, and it has a really interesting inspiration. A fellow named Andrew Erkenbrecher, what a great name, was very involved with an organization called the Society for the Acclimatization of Birds. And they were having a problem with an insect infestation at the time, caterpillars in particular, not cicadas apparently. And so they bought 1,000 birds to come and gobble up the caterpillars. That began, they needed a place to house the birds, and so they bought some acres of land in the neighborhood that is 65 acres, in fact, in the neighborhood that is Avondale today. And that's where the zoo is. So Erkenbrecher was, in fact, then ultimately the founder of the Cincinnati Zoo. I had no idea as I started work. I knew that zoo had been here forever, but I didn't know that it was caterpillars and birds that really made it happen.
So if people want to connect with your book, get more information, how do you recommend they go about doing that?
Well, a couple of ways. Of course, it's at local bookstores. The Joseph Beth, Roebling Point Books has a nice supply of them there, and I would certainly recommend people stopping by there right at the foot of our oldest bridge on the Covington side. The suspension bridge will take you right there if you can walk across it for now. But I also have a website that people can give a look at, and you can order directly from the publisher, and they will ship it without charging you for shipping. So my website is www.rickpenderwrites.com, and people will find it there. There's some other books there, but you scroll down and you'll find this one, and you can order it direct from the publisher in St. Louis.
I'm on my way right after we get done with this interview. Rick, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thanks, Clyde. It's great to see you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.